tell me a story.
Don't worry, I won't hurt you. I only want you to have some fun.
Hi, I'm the Night Child, and once again I have the superb honour of reviewing another fantastic Prince album with my good friend, Mr. Ants. Today, we look at 1999. It is almost impossible to imagine a time before Prince's apocalyptic powerhouse 1999 exploded onto an unsuspecting musical world. An extraordinary funk pop thesis that launched 1,000 essays. An epoch-making, futuristic, stark, dark, broodingly sexual, adrenaline-soaked, groove-riding, musically masturbatory, chicken-greased slice of pure Prince. Acclaimed Prince writer Scott Woods describes 1999 as Prince's most Prince album, and as usual, he is not wrong. It is here on this album that Prince finally gets to truly stretch his funk legs and ride a groove, and nowhere is this made more clear than, despite being a double album, there are only 11 tracks but a running time of over 70 minutes. One could make the argument, and I certainly have a great deal of time for this argument, that 1999 was in many ways a real setting of a blueprint for Prince, a magnum opus which set out his musical stall fully and completely. After developing his new brand of funk, punk, synth-laden new wave with controversy, Prince's confidence was sky high, and he was on the cusp of finally embracing the greatness for which he always seemed capable. All that was needed was 2 or 3 huge pop classics that would grab the attention of the world. The launching of MTV, an unparalleled triple threat stage show with Prince, The Time and Vanity 6, and most importantly, a clear, bold, intelligent and unmistakable declaration. Prince was taking the world stage, and music would never quite be the same again. Released 12 months on from controversy in October 1982, 1999 was credited to Prince, although The Revolution were mentioned on the cover and were about to begin their remarkable run of albums with Prince, which largely defined the mid-80s musical landscape. Due to the technical limits of the new CD format, D.M.S.R was left off that version, and I still remember the sheer joy when I heard this track for the first time a couple of years after I discovered Prince. Thankfully, it has now claimed its rightful place on the CD album. Indeed, according to the always remarkable Prince Vault, there were 2 other versions released. One was a 7-track LP, which removed D.M.S.R, Automatic, All the Critics Love You in New York, and International Lover. At the same time, there was a cassette issue of the album, with 9 tracks, adding D.M.S.R and the non-album track How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore. It's hard to imagine anything other than the full version now, and it's crucial for this project that one takes the time to revel in the upbeat, dancing whilst facing the apocalypse iconoclasm of 1999, the sultry, burning, yearning of Little Red Corvette, the rockabilly freneticism of Delirious, the sometimes dark, intoxicating and mesmerising grooves of Automatic, Let's Pretend We're Married and Lady Cab Driver. The bravado and showmanship of D.M.S.R and All the Critics Love You in New York. The complex, entrancing, hypnotic immersion of Something in the Water Does Not Compute. The fiery but reflective, pomp-filled sadness of Free, and the luxuriating, sumptuous, deep, reclining chair, hot tub, pure luxury of International Lover. Prince, on the album, is fearless, bursting at the seams with seemingly endless creativity, recording innovations, earworm grooves, rousing, inspiring proclamations, and the coy, subtle, toying smirk of someone who knows they are rising to the top of their game and the music world. The summit was so close, and soon Prince would see if it was everything he had imagined it to be. I could tell you that the album 1999 was verified 4 times platinum some 20 years ago. I could tell you that the visually iconic videos for 1999 and Little Red Corvette were both huge plinths of the newly launched MTV, and Prince, alongside Michael Jackson, became the first black artists heavily featured in a new technological age. I could tell you that 5 commercial singles were released, those being 1999, Little Red Corvette, Delirious, Automatic and Let's Pretend We're Married, not to mention the promotional release of D.M.S.R. I could even mention that the success of 1999 truly put into place the building blocks of success that gave Prince the prestige and proclaim that made his next step of asking for a feature film that much more attractive. But none of this is truly what makes this album special. What makes it special is the sheer bursting emotion, instrumental dexterity and perfection of much of this album. The joy is in the listening, the imbibing of this extraordinary genius. It's time to let Prince take you on a journey like no other. The sky is about to turn purple, and we are about to dance our lives away. The tone of 1999 as an album and song are set in their opening first few moments, as Prince, his voice slowed down and alien-like, announces part harbinger of doom, part funk DJ. Don't worry, I won't hurt you. I only want you to have some fun. It is at this point that the growing, clambering, atmospheric rise of Lindrum staccato spatterings and triumphant, proclamatory synth chords which announce the track like a medieval royal entrance, which in a way I suppose it is. The bass is simply sumptuous, and the opening few iconic bars could be played on loop to sustain anticipation and energy for much longer, something that Prince would often do when announcing this track live and toying with the audience, ramping up their excited fervour. The back and forth sharing of the opening lines between The Revolution and Prince really launches their upcoming importance over the next few years of Prince's creativity, and the blending of all their voices as the song ramps up to the chorus is sonically perfect. I've always felt that in a way 1999 is very much the younger sister of the track Let's Go Crazy, which would open Prince's next blockbuster album. Both songs grappling with the craziness of the world, of living life while you can, partying as the world, or oneself, comes to an end. Prince implores us to party in the face of the end times, to choose the only freedom we truly have, to exist in the moment, to face this existential angst the only way we truly can, through hedonism. Not necessarily the hedonism one may think of in a rock star's life, but the sheer embracing of the current moment, this letting it all go and losing one's self-empowerment. Life is just a party, and parties weren't meant to last, is a succinct epigraph for Prince's philosophy. The angst-ridden new world of huge destructive weapons is centre of Prince's mind. War is all around us. My mind says prepare to fight. So if I gotta die, I'm gonna listen to my body tonight. It's telling, as is the clear, nervous apprehension of the line. Everybody's got a bomb. We could all die any day. It must almost go without saying now that the full-length track is clearly the gold standard. And after crafting a perfectly composed iconic track, Prince at around the 4 minutes 30 mark just lets the track loose. The party refrains, the can't run from revelation line, the abandonment of Prince, hooping, interjecting, screaming, all leads into the poignant final section at 6 minutes, where the innocent childlike question rings throughout your ears once more. Mummy, why does everybody have a bomb? Despite this track now being over 38 years old, its relevance, freshness and ability to impact people on a gut level is undiminished. Prince was always decades ahead of his time, something we are only now beginning to truly realise. Interestingly enough, Bobby Z has stated that Prince wrote 1999 after viewing the HBO documentary The Man Who Saw Tomorrow, a film about Nostradamus. In July 1982, when Prince wrote the track, 1999 seemed a lifetime away, but in days of division and hate, it could simply represent our own future. One last point that is intriguing is that 1999 was the last track recorded for the 1999 project, and like so many last-minute additions, such as When Doves Cry, for example, the last addition became a defining theme for the entire project.
I guess I should know by the way you parked your car sideways. I don't wouldn't last.
As 1999 ends, Prince's falsetto whispers and fades into the distance. Then emerging from this party at the apocalypse scene comes this iconic synth line, evoking a hot and smoky night amongst the neon lights of the city. It's time to take a drive in Prince's Little Red Corvette. This pop masterpiece by Prince has a couple of origin stories. After Prince passed, a woman from St Paul, Maya Ling Stone, claimed the song was inspired by her. She claimed to have first met Prince in 1976 and again in 1979, when apparently Prince started dating her. She apparently had pictures of jockeys on her wall where she lived. Lisa Coleman also believes Prince came up with the idea for the song after making out with Vanity in the back of her 1964 pink Mercury Montclair Marauder, which Prince would regularly borrow from her, as in her own words, it was awesome and the perfect cruisemobile on a beautiful Minneapolis day. Whatever the inspiration was, it was clear it had served Prince to create not just a great track, but one of his most iconic tracks, and one of the most iconic tracks of the 1980s by any artist. This is pure pop brilliance. From those opening chords to the first few lines of the first verse, it's clear that Prince had finally nailed the perfect crossover hit he had been searching for. A song that would start to make Prince a household name in America. The melody is catchy as hell and once heard instantly recognisable and never forgotten, and by naming the track Little Red Corvette, well, from then on Prince would become synonymous with Corvettes, especially red, always getting a nod or mention in popular culture, even though the song has nothing to do with the cars. It was a masterstroke by Prince. The Corvette in question in Prince's song is a metaphor for the object of his affections, a fast woman who loves them and leaves them fast. I guess I should have known by the way you parked your car sideways that it wouldn't last. See, you're the kind of person that believes in making out once, love 'em and leave 'em fast. Prince's lyrics here are full of imagery and metaphors and really work so well. I guess I must be dumb 'cause you had a pocket full of horses, Trojan and some of them used. But it was Saturday night, I guess that makes it all right. And you say, what have I got to lose? And honey, I say, Little Red Corvette, baby, you're much too fast. Little Red Corvette, you need a love that's gonna last. The music is fantastic, at its best atmospheric and brooding, and at its grooviest with a pop rock edge with the mix of synth, Lindrums and guitars. Des Dickerson takes the lead guitar solo duties here and does a fantastic job. The first main solo coming in at the 1 minute 55 mark, and again from around the 2 minutes 40 mark to 3 minutes 15. And as we come out from the solo, we get one of Prince's most classic lines. Girl, you got an ass like I've never seen. And the ride, I say the ride, is so smooth, you must be a limousine. Little Red Corvette was released as the second single from the 1999 album, and it gave Prince his biggest hit so far, reaching number 6 on the US Billboard Hot 100 chart. A 12-inch dance mix was also released, which deserves a review of its own at some point. The single was also re-released in the UK in 1985 after the success of Purple Rain, reaching number 2 in the UK Top 40. The video, which was shot on the 1999 tour stage, was Prince's second to make it onto MTV following 1999, helping to lay the foundations for Prince's crossover into the mainstream audience. Little Red Corvette went on to be performed by Prince on almost every tour of his career, right up to his final tour, Piano and a Microphone, in 2016. It went through a superb reimagining from the late 2000s, adding a superb slow down call and response section with the audience. The track was included on the compilation albums The Hits to B-Sides in 1993, The Very Best of Prince in 2001, and Forever in 2016, after Prince's passing. The dance mix was also included on the compilation album Ultimate in 2006. Little Red Corvette is a stunning pop track that still sounds as good today as it ever did. It helped to put Prince's star across to the masses and remains one of the greatest pop songs ever written. Slow down.
I get delirious whenever you're near.
It was only with the 2019 release of 1999 Super Deluxe, an album we will get to later, that the full-length version of Delirious was officially released. However, this edited version, despite clocking in at under 4 minutes, packs a truly powerful punch, and also notes a real shift in tone from the opening 2 tracks of this atmospheric and almost claustrophobic album. Delirious has obvious cousins in tracks such as Horny Toad and Jack You Off. It is virtually illegal to discuss this track without using the word rockabilly. So, now that's done, on with the fun. And fun is this track's raison d'etre. After staring down the apocalypse and being burnt by the fumes of the fast lover of Little Red Corvette, Delirious is almost a palate cleanser, but not in any pejorative or diminishing way. It's an addictive, fun party track whose squeaky, squelchy synth lead lines borders on comedic, whilst Prince adds a nod to Elvis and almost sounds buffeted along by this frenetic wave of unbridled desire.
I'm delirious. You get me.
Prince urges for his desired love, leaving him to proclaim, "Baby, you got to stop, 'cause if you don't, I'm gonna explode, and girl, I've got a lot." The line in which Prince takes a journey in and around her lake is pure Prince, and always raises a smile. There's a nice little bass noodle and synth motif at around 3 minutes 15, and an ending cry of a baby. Just because, well, Prince could do whatever he likes. It's a track that Prince continued to play throughout his career live, and in the 2010s he would often interpolate it with Let's Go Crazy. Its bubbly energy works well in concert, and Prince clearly thought enough of it to make it a single release nearly 10 months after the album's release. In terms of the entire album, Delirious is a bit of an oddity. It feels much more lightweight than a lot of the darker tracks such as Automatic, Something in the Water and Lady Cab Driver, whilst not having the iconic status of the opening 2 tracks. Prince, not always but often, would use the 3rd track as a seductive ballad, such as The Beautiful Ones, or a funk workout a la Housequake. But here it acts as a short interval as we head into 3 or 4 of the longest tracks on the album, with a range of complex, sexual, social and spiritual dimensions. It's that last gulp of fresh air before we dive into the depths of some truly otherworldly tracks, some of them truly delirious.
Excuse me, but I need a mouth like yours. Shall I continue? The first of several 7-minute plus tracks on the album, Let's Pretend We're Married, opens with the Linn drum pounding out a fast and frenetic marching beat in overdrive. Then the synths kick in with an upbeat, almost bouncy effect that just makes you nod your head back and forth, almost like a headbanger. Then Prince comes in with his vocals. Now there are some Prince songs that are thought-provoking with different meanings to be found by the listener. There are tender romantic ballads, seduction love songs, feel-good dance and funk tracks, and then there are the outright shocking taboo songs about sex. Let's Pretend We're Married falls in between the dance tracks and the taboo songs by mixing them up to create a pounding and pulsating sound experience, with Prince pulling no punches as to what's on his mind. Let's pretend we're married and go all night. There ain't nothing wrong if it feels alright. I won't stop until the morning light. Let's pretend we're married and go all night tonight. Here we see Prince playing the part of a lonely man whose girl has left him, but rather than being heartbroken, he just doesn't care and just wants to go all night. My girl's gone and she don't care at all. And if she did, so what? Come on baby, let's ball. The music and pace in the track is relentless, with some great synth effects buried in the mix if you listen closely on headphones, and a fantastic passion-filled scream by Prince full of reverb that just goes straight through your head. Then there is a great section where Prince plays the lead line on the synths, with the Linn drum pounding between each line, making you tap your foot in accordance. This section leads to the most shocking part of the track lyrically, as Prince starts to declare how much he wants to, with each time being highlighted by the synths to give it more effect. Can you relate?
I wanna fuck you. Yeah, I wanna.
The track ends with Prince stating his own ethos and personal agenda. With his vocals stacked up we hear, "Whatever you heard about me is true. I change the rules and do what I want to do. I'm in love with God, it's the only way. 'Cause you and I know we gotta die someday. You think I'm crazy? You're probably right. But I'm gonna have fun every motherfucking night. You like to fight? You're a double drag fool. I'm going to another life. How about you?" It's a fantastic end to a pulsating dance track. Let's Pretend We're Married was the final single release from the 1999 album, coming out a year after the album's release and reaching number 52 on the US Billboard Hot 100 chart.
There are some tracks in the Prince catalogue which, and I can find no other way to describe it, just make you want to combust with joy. For me, this is one of them. From the opening few bars, Prince lays his stripped down funk bare. This is Prince's manifesto, his call to arms, his standard bearer, his declaration for a new funk nation. The opening hour, the wasting no time bursting proclamation, everybody, get on the floor, what the hell do you come here for? The bass-laden drum stabs, the undercurrent of chicken grease guitar, and simply sumptuous vocals make this track one that encapsulates Prince like few others. 1, 2, 3, listen to me. I don't want to be a poet because I don't want to blow it. I don't care to win awards. All I want to do is dance, play music, sex, romance, and try my best to never get bored. Prince even has the side-eyed cheek to diss his alter ego when he decries that Jamie Starr's a thief and demands that we all take a bite of his purple rock. Who else but Prince?
Dance, music, sex, romance. Oh, everybody say, ooh.
From wearing lingerie in a restaurant to just shaking it like you just don't care, Prince builds upon his previous extolling of freedom in tracks such as Uptown and Sexuality, urging us all to embrace his Minneapolis mantra of dance, music, sex, romance, the four loves of Prince's world that sustained him always. Even before the remaster, the sound here on headphones is a deep, filling, springy one, and truly it does something strange to that part of your brain that processes all things funky. It's like a shot of adrenaline, a drink of excitement, and it will, without fail, lift any spirits. The almost crazily long chicken grease guitar starting at 2 minutes 53 leads into Prince playing some sticky synth and guitar runs. Prince even implores the white people to clap on the floor now. The scream at 4 minutes 49. Well, is there anyone who screams like Prince? The call and response section just after 5 minutes is something that Prince would utilise superbly during his many live renditions of this track throughout the years. I love the little D.M.S.R sliding backing vocals and the descending drum rolls that follow too. Prince always stated that he admired Joni Mitchell because she used space so well, and here is another example of Prince being a genius in that area too. Prince knows just when to break down the track, strip it back, and then build it up and add the layers to full effect. By the end of this rousing juggernaut, women are somewhat scarily calling for help. Prince is in full-throated party mood, and it's all a bit crazy, like some unravelling party that could go almost anywhere. No one track can define Prince, nor should we ever try to contain him, but this track does more than most to encapsulate Prince's manifesto at the time. The only noticeable omission being God, and whilst belief has played a part in Prince's music and indeed his life from the very beginning, it is noticeable that, aside from the Lord's Prayer and controversy, it was this album and onwards where Prince regularly embraced the religious contemplation with such tracks as God and The Ladder and, depending how you interpret it, the track Free from 1999. However, for Prince, D.M.S.R is the natural opening act, or if you prefer, after party, to the title track 1999, and it still sounds sublime.
You ask me if I love you. It's automatic.
Coming in at just over 9 minutes, this incredible track is the longest on the album, and also one of the best. Musically here we see Prince going new wave, and this wouldn't sound out of place on a Gary Newman album. The music and feel of this track is just hypnotic, especially the vocal delivery, and if you dare to listen on headphones, you will be put into a trance by the swirling synths and the vocals, which pan from left to right. You ask me if I love you, it's automatic, 'cause every time you leave me, I die, it's automatic too. The way Prince delivers his vocals is almost machine-like. AUT-O-matic, just tell me what to do. There's almost a Kraftwerk computer world feel to it. Lyrically, this is Prince writing about being addicted to his lover and all the things that he would do which come automatically. I'll rub your back forever, it's automatic. I'll look for a needle in a haystack, it's automatic too. I'll go down on you all night long, it's automatic. Yes I will, babe, and even if I'm right, I'll be wrong, it's automatic too. Then at around the 4-minute mark we hear Prince speaking to his lover, which again, if you're listening on headphones, pans from left to right, and it feels as though Prince is going through your brain. There are so many synth effects going on in this track too, with an emphasis on airplane travel, with references to fastening seatbelts and preparing for takeoff, with the synths becoming the jet engines, metaphors that Prince returns to and takes to the max in the final track on this album. Lisa Coleman and Jill Jones provide backing vocals on the track, which really adds to the mechanical feel of the music with their AUT-O-matic refrain throughout. Then at around the 6-minute 40 mark we hear them saying, I dream of how you kiss me, not with your lips but with your soul. With you I'm never bored, talk to me some more, I can hear you, I'm going to have to torture you now. Which leads into a guitar solo, backed up with Lisa and Jill moaning and crying with their voices multi-tracked and Prince's guitar wailing out high notes in response. A great moment. Automatic also has a very memorable video. Again shot on the 1999 tour stage setup, we see Prince playing on the airplane metaphor straight away while wearing a captain's hat. And midway through the video we see Des Dickerson waving in the plane for boarding in the background, only for the plane to be a bed. The video does a great job of showcasing Roy Bennett's fantastic stage lighting, with Prince in the shadows and then in the light when delivering his lines. Prince himself does a really great job of physically interpreting the machine-like nature of the vocals with some abrupt facial expressions. The video finishes with Lisa and Jill tying Prince to the bed and spinning him round and round before Lisa begins to whip Prince in a mild S&M scene. A memorable video for a memorable song. Automatic is one of those only could have come from Prince's mind incredible jams and remains a true highlight of this album.
Must be something in the water they drink. It's been the same with every girl I've had.
There was no one more delighted than me when Prince and Third Eye Girl dug deep into the archives and rescued and reinterpreted Something in the Water Does Not Compute during their shows from 2013 onwards. I've always felt that this was an underappreciated gem, a masterpiece of done wrong angst, a pleading, visceral at times uncomprehending defiance, demanding answers from his lover, from himself, and from the sky. This track bursts out of the gate with some of the best drum programming to stem from the cold lands of Minnesota. The staccato drum bursts are like fireworks or artillery fire. They ricochet around your head and almost mirror Prince's mind, which is flying like a pinball, desperately yearning to understand how he's being treated this way by the object of his desire. The opening lines, "Some people tell me I got great legs, can't figure out why you make me beg," are almost reminiscent of "How come you don't call me anymore?" in terms of their message of, well, to put it another way, why you want to treat me so bad. There are some truly atmospheric rising chords that really add to the murkiness of the track, almost feeling like you are underwater, playing into the title of the track. Prince, as he is so clever at doing, creates a line that has multiple meanings. You think you're special? Well, so do I. Is he saying that he agrees that the object of his attraction is special? Or that he also thinks that he himself is special? Or both? Prince cannot compute why he's treated like this. Why must he stop with her before he starts? He can buy her fancy clothes and cars, but has no idea who she truly is. Speaking of which, the scream at 2 minutes 4 is just the appetizer for this track's gospel transcendence.
Something don't do. Now you know.
2 minutes 37, he begins with a series of screams which quite frankly proves that there was never and there will never be anyone like Prince. So much so that around the 3 minute mark, the drum programming seems to stutter and fall apart, like the raw, edgy frustration of the track can no longer be contained. The multi-layered vocal backing, added little effects and falsetto touches prove the depth of the tracks Prince created. As the track reaches an end, Prince finally manages to come to a peace, a truce of understanding, as he, in a moment of naked openness, comes to the realization, I do love you, I do, or else I wouldn't go through all the things that I do. The keyboards swell and relax. Maybe, just maybe, he's a step closer to understanding.
The sound of a beating heart. Soldiers' feet come marching past, through what sounds like swirling, howling winds, and suddenly, coming out of this cold and harsh-sounding environment, comes Prince's falsetto and piano, making you feel like the sun is coming up over this scene, filling you with warmth and hope. This is Free.
Sleep till the sunrise. Listen to the falling rain.
Free is a really interesting track in terms of Prince's psyche and his growth, as here we have Prince writing about being glad to be free, and yet in just over 10 years from this record, Prince was far from being free, writing slave on his face in his own private war against his record company. But here in 1982 we have Prince rejoicing our collective freedom and fighting for it in an anti-war statement too. Be glad that you are free. Free to change your mind. Free to go most anywhere, any time. Be glad that you are free. There's many a man who's not. Glad for what you had, baby, and what you got. Prince also deals with loneliness, something very prevalent in a lot of his early work, asking us here to only cry when we are happy, to smile when we are blue, and to never let that lonely monster take control of you. Prince also tackles guilt about all those little sins we commit every day. Don't sleep until you're guilty, because sinners all are we. There's others doing far worse than us, so be glad that you are free. The overriding feeling and message of the song is one of hope and one of not taking things for granted. Be glad for all the things in your life, all the people, the moments that are also special and unique, as they will never come again. And in today's COVID, lockdown and restricted world, once again Prince's lyrics hit home and are so relevant. Soldiers are a-marching, they're writing brand new laws. Will we all fight together for the most important cause? We will fight for the right to be free. Prince's vocals then go from his soft, mournful falsetto to a growling, pleading, almost screaming refrain of the chorus, before indeed Prince can't control it anymore and he lets out an impassioned scream. There is also a guitar solo running through this section which comes to the fore a few seconds after the screaming, before finally noodling away as the music fades out and the piano closes out proceedings in a dreamy, melancholic manner. Was this freedom really a dream after all?
The second longest track on the album, stretching out to 8 minutes 25. This is arguably the darkest and most complex, multifaceted, atmospheric immersion of the album. Prince shouts for a taxi and the groove settles in. A gorgeous rubbery bass with a delicate, slow, flecking pulsar guitar and the lady cab driver refrain, sung in an intimate, almost androgynous way. There could be an argument that this might just be the older, adults-only version of Little Red Corvette, with Prince begging the lady cab driver to take him for a ride, but not in the traditionally romantic sunny day way, but in a I'm growing cold, get me out of here, feel I'm gonna die way. Prince knows he's lonely, and lonely's not the way to be, and implores the female chauffeur to drive this demon out of me. It's clear Prince's character is confused, bewildered. I don't know where I'm going because I don't know where I've been. He pleads, help me girl, I'm drowning, mass confusion in my head. And in a truly heartbreaking line, Prince asks, will you accept my tears to pay the fare? This is a strikingly mature and nuanced track for an artist of just 24 at the time to create and perform. Musically it shares a great deal with the recently released track Rearrange from the 1999 Super Deluxe, and it is posited that perhaps Lady Cab Driver was a partial reinterpretation of that track with a huge shift in lyrical focus. After a funky synth, bass and drum groove, at 3 minutes 10 it all kicks off wildly. Prince, with the added vocal performance of the mesmeric Jill Jones, begins a section where controversy certainly lies. Some have described it as a passionate lovemaking, some as something more roughly hewn. The lyrics are certainly open to interpretation. I've always personally viewed the encounter as an act of lovemaking through which Prince exercises his inbuilt frustrations of the world. Now bear in mind this experience is permeated with Jill moaning and quasi-sexual exasperations and Prince thrusting his points across both physically and metaphorically. I don't usually quote lyrics at length too often, but here there is a truly unique mix of poetry, self-doubt, anger, sexuality, religion, social conscience, love, loneliness and bewilderment. This is truly a case where I want to throw out the question to everyone listening. What do you make of the lyrics? How do you interpret them? Are they problematic, candid, toying, achingly lonely, or something else? These are Prince's words. This is for the cab you have to drive for no money at all. This is for why I wasn't born like my brother, handsome and tall. This is for politicians who are bored and believe in war. This, yeah, that's for me. That's who that one's for. This is for discrimination and egotists who think supreme. And this is for whoever taught you how to kiss in designer jeans. And that one's for where you have to live. This one's for the rich, not all of them, just the greedy, the ones that don't know how to give. This one's for Yosemite Sam and the tourist at Disneyland. And this one, oh yeah, that's the one. That's for the creator of man. This is for the sun, the moon, the stars, the tourist at Disneyland. This is for the ocean, the sea, the shore. This is for, and that's for you, and that's who that one's for. This is for the women, so beautifully complex. This one's for the love, without sex. This is for the wind that blows no matter how fast or slow. Not knowing where I'm going, this galaxy's better than not having a place to go. And now I know. Then, some seagulls into the fray. Yes, I said seagulls. It's Prince, he can do whatever he likes, it's fine. Then some church bells, and then at 5 minutes 43, a keyboard and guitar duel, which sounds just so good, it's unbelievable that this wasn't recorded yesterday. At 6 minutes 21, Prince decides to blow bubbles underwater, because, once again, he is Prince. The keyboard holds are almost anxiety-inducing, atmosphere pounding. After breaking his loneliness temporarily, Prince returns to the bustling city and the everyday existence, like he had had a dream in the back of a cab. I'm still not sure I know what was real and what wasn't.
You can dance if you want to. All the critics love you in New York.
Pulsating, driving, hypnotic and funky purple groove. All the Critics Love You in New York is, as I've said many times before, another one of those could only come from Prince's brain tracks. He takes all the latest technology and trends of the time in music and mixes it all up and gives you an incredible funky purple jam. It's time for new direction. It's time for jazz to die. 4th day of November, we need a purple high. Turn it up. Lyrically, all the critics see Prince taking a mocking swipe at those darling critics to whom you can do no wrong. You can wear what you want to, all the critics love you in New York. You could cut off all your hair, I don't think they'd care in New York. While you can play what you want to, all the critics love you in New York. They won't say that you're naive if you play what you believe in New York. The music, as I said before, is just hypnotic. Prince really had found something special with these extensive extended jams he was able to include on the 99 album. The lid drum programming and the synths sound like they're from a different galaxy, and still to this day sound like nothing you've ever heard before. Prince could churn grooves like this out for days and it would still seem too short. They are so engrossing. Prince's drugs of choice are his music mixed with sexuality and spirituality, and on the 1999 Deluxe we have the track Purple Music, where Prince talks about not needing drugs, as purple music does the same to his brain and he's high. And here, on All the Critics Love You, we have Prince chanting, "Body don't want to quit, gotta get another hit. Body don't want to quit, gotta get another hit," whilst also taking a swipe at drug-fueled hippies.
Look out, all you hippies, you ain't as sharp as me. It ain't about the tripping, but the sexuality.
Whilst we hear Prince's voice sounding like it's on a police radio or something, saying, "Yes, we're certain of it, he's definitely masturbating." Prince's extended experimental new wave funk electronic dance-fueled creations on 1999 truly are like a drug to the listener. They are hypnotic, intoxicating, immersive, sexy and funky beyond belief. Prince would later rework the track for live shows from the late 2000s, often changing the New York to whatever city he was playing in. There is a great version on the Indigo Night CD from the 21 Nights in London, but the Montreux version from 2009 is just extraordinary, as Prince adds incredible funky guitar to the track, changing the whole dynamic, taking the roof off the building. Just incredible.
International lover.
It is both truly fitting that this track was originally intended for the Times' second album, What Time Is It?, and also that it was recorded 3 days after the track Gigolos, Get Lonely Too. Having created an absolutely classic big band ballad on the previous album with a sauntering Do Me Baby, this genre of track was to play a central part of the Prince creative canon for decades to come. From the first opening sustained note which is held to the point of breaking, the synth and bobbing bass stabs, Prince bursts straight onto the scene, holding your attention. And then, after asking for this dance, Prince throws open the gauntlet. "Darling, it appears to me that you could use a date tonight, a body that'll do you right. Tell me, am I qualified?" This is where Prince luxuriates, taking his time, panting his lines, moaning and yearning between the lines, toying with his lover, making those statements that only Prince could get away with. Part cocksure, part tongue-in-cheek, bravado meets adoration. Prince smirks. "Baby, I know it's hard to believe, but this body here is free tonight."
Baby, I know it's hard to believe, but this.
Prince has his Prince International Lover airplane parked right outside, and he's ready to take you around the world. Mr. Goodnight is basically ready to fulfill every desire. Just like the refrain in Get Off about not being served, Prince is only too aware that it's been a long time since you were satisfied. The Seduction 747 is ready with your pilot Prince speaking. The original idea was for Jill Jones to don an air hostess outfit and for Prince to recreate this scene on a reclining seat on stage during the 1999 tour, but plans were changed. It certainly would have been an iconic moment. Very few artists rap sexual desire and humour the way Prince can. After getting himself worked up into a heightened state of arousal, he declares rather wryly that, in the event there is overexcitement, your seat cushion may be used as a flotation device. No one, and I mean no one, builds up a track like Prince. It just rises like a river about to burst its dam, and at 5 minutes 10 Prince ramps it up and up until the excitement cannot be sustained anymore. It's just extraordinary, and at 5 minutes 34 Prince's screams simply shudder through your soul. It's an existential shriek, an absolute abandonment of control. Prince then subsides into a post-coital malaise, tired, spent and content. Can nobody do it like Prince?
Normally, we would round off our review with an in conclusion section. However, the Nightchild's introduction to this review really said everything there is to say and more on this groundbreaking album by Prince. There really isn't a whole lot more I can add other than to reaffirm that this album was a real benchmark, a massive building block of the cornerstone of Prince's career. It finally gave Prince the massive crossover hits in America he had been striving for, and with the birth of MTV and Prince being one of the first black artists on the channel, it gave Prince's future ideas for a movie the opportunity to be taken seriously. And without 1999, Purple Rain would probably not exist in the way we know it today. That makes 1999 not only one of the best Prince albums ever, but also one of the most important. From its experimental long jams like Something in the Water and All the Critics, to its pop genius of 1999 and Little Red Corvette, 1999 is a stunning piece of work. The Super Deluxe release in 2019 only added to the legacy of this landmark album and includes some incredible vault tracks. But as we are reviewing Prince's discography in chronological order, we will get to reviewing that release in the near future. But for now, let's just enjoy 1999, the album on its own as it was. As next up, well, things are about to become purple.